Welcome to She's All Business. I'm Sophia, and I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest, Sarah Leff. She's going to talk to us about her life and how she became a successful CEO of the designer brand Jonathan Cohen. I met Sarah over a year ago now, and I got the most amazing opportunity to intern with her at Jonathan Cohen twice. She's an extraordinary businesswoman, and I'm so excited for her to share her story with you. So, welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I really want to start with the most important questions. What is one current fashion staple for you?
I live in dresses and ballet flats. So that's kind of my day-to-day staple. I don't really do trends. I kind of go with the flow, and I've been in a deep dive of archival Jonathan Cohen pieces.
I love the corset dress for Jonathan Cohen. That's probably my
Yes.
favorite. I feel like I don't really have one specific staple for me, but I love fur coats. Like, I don't have any right now, but I feel like that is something that I'm super interested in to see on New York streets this winter.
Yes, I saw some yesterday. I was so confused because it was 65 degrees and a woman was in a full floor-length mink coat.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm so excited for that. What are some of your least favorite fashion trends?
I'm not a fan of Crocs. Despite
Me
every
neither.
every brand who's doing a collaboration, I am more into like a fitted, slim cut, clean look versus like overly appliqued, trendy, patchworky things.
Yeah, for me, everything I was coming up with was pants related. Like, I hate the super baggy
Yes.
like jeans that like come out at your knees a little bit. Like, I'm not a huge fan of capri pants.
Yes, not capri. I'm not a cargo pant
No,
girl.
that's on my list too.
Just like the extra pockets.
But capri pants, I just feel like are a little bit unsettling for me to look at.
It doesn't help anybody
No,
lengthwise.
it doesn't. So, yeah, those are probably mine. So, you are an extremely busy woman. You're doing so many things. And every time I see you're so go, 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 hardworking, what do you do when you're not working?
I am an SLT class fanatic. So that's my day go to go. That's my biggest release in the craziness. I love to cook. I used to be a huge baker and I really transitioned it more into like dinner cooking. So I love to have friends over and host and entertain. I love to be outdoors. I love to go, like escape the city whenever possible for some kind of adventure.
So, I really want to start from the beginning with you and just talk about your childhood up until now and how you got to where you are. So, if you can tell us just a little bit about growing up, where you're from, and kind of the family dynamics that brought you to where you are.
Yeah, so I grew up in Atlanta. I lived there from like 2 to 18. And I have one sister who we're 16 months apart. So we're very close. I think we're very much yin and yang, but the same kind of person at the same time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we have very opposite careers. She's out saving the world and I'm saving fashion. We kind of had the opportunity to travel and find arts and figure out who we were. My parents were very supportive in kind of whatever our path was. And I always loved art, but I never looked at it as a career. I always was so interested in like businesses and fashion and design, but I always looked at it as fun. Like all of my notebooks in high school would have shoe designs in them. Like when I was bored out of my mind or hated class, like I would just be drawing shoes. And I would sneak out of class as much as possible to go to the mall that was nearby. So I always loved fashion, but never looked at it into a career. And I think until like towards the end of my senior year, I discovered like that is the path I wanted. So went the route and studied business at Parsons, which kind of, opened the oyster of every opportunity I've had. But I went down that path. And my dad can tell you, like 2 weeks into college, I sent him a message just telling him all about the strategic class I was taking, and he said it clicked. Like there was a moment that is just how I had to go about thinking to express my thoughts in class and like the strategic outline of a product. Everything kind of came together. There was a program that senior year at Parsons that you got. There's a handful of people who get into this program that you study at Columbia Business School. So it was luxury of education. And so it was kind of like this peak moment when I was figuring out what I wanted to do that allowed me to understand the luxury field. You were partnered with a company. Mine was a partnership with Ralph Lauren and Luxottica and kind of re-envisioning what special opportunities Luxottica was going to offer to that Ralph Lauren brand.
What do you think are some key characteristics that you and your other classmates at Parsons or Columbia Business School impacted the way that you guys are today?
I think the most beneficial thing that I experienced at Parsons, and this kind of differentiated like the different classmates, is the world is your oyster. Go figure it out. You can everyone can attend classes. Everyone can read the books and get A's if they per se wanted. But you are in school in New York City. How are you going to take advantage of being here versus being in the middle of nowhere? So my first day of Parsons, I went to Vera Wang and I said, I want to intern for you. And so that was my first internship.
Wow.
Granted, I was getting McFlurries.
Love.
So, I walked in and it was my first week in New York, my first fashion week. And I was sitting on the floor changing models. Vera would come in with someone. They would like pop her popcorn, put it in porcelain bowls. We would be eating like on paper plates on the floor and she'd be living her life. And one day I was sent out to get her and Andre Leo and Tally McFlurries. This was 2005, so we didn't have iPhones, and she wanted a specific McFlurry, the peanut butter cup one or the peanut butter pieces. I had a Razr flip phone, which was like the coolest phone at that point, but you can't, remember when you don't have Google Maps then, and you don't have as much internet device on your phone?
I was one at that time, so.
Okay, so exactly. So I called my mom. I made her get on the computer, and I needed her to go on the McDonald's website on the McFlurry Finder to find where I was going to find this McFlurry because it wasn't at every McDonald's. So by the time I got the McFlurries and came back, Vera had left for the US Open. She had moved on to the next thing. I'm sure someone was sent out to find her something else. And myself and another intern got to enjoy the McFlurries at the end. So I interned in all different areas just to kind of grasp what it is. And what the benefit of strategic management is, it's not just fashion. And I think when people think New York and Parsons, they think you're pigeonholed in just this fashion world. And it wasn't. I worked for an architecture group that was working on Beyonce's outdoor space. I worked for a showroom to understand the sales component. I worked at PR firms to understand their relationships with brands. I worked for a men's brand that I credit as probably the most beneficial learning lesson because I watched them go out of business. I watched them from like hitting these huge success points to really getting questioned if they should close and what it looked like to close down that business. It's wonderful when you hit those goals, but you have to be mindful of those goals. Not all your money can go to one thing. You have to kind of look at the big picture and what the longevity of that is. And I also remember going on an interview process. I was waiting in the lobby for somewhere and someone picked me up and it wasn't even for the internship that I wanted, but they started stealing intern offers. So I didn't go to the original internship interview I was supposed to because I was basically led into this room that was for somebody else. All internships give you an experience.
Yeah.
I've had some horrible internships, but I built some wonderful relationships out of it. If it means with other interns, if it meant with my superiors.
Obviously now you have your own company, which we will get to, but you're around interns all the time. What is one thing you would do differently if you were an intern?
I think being appropriate and respect is like the huge takeaways. Instagram's a whole nother level these days. Like how an intern documents and exposes things on their internship is either a big success or failure. I think just respect, to be honest, and being on time and willing to work. Like there's nothing more of a turnoff when we have an intern who's like, sorry, I have plans at 4:30, I'm leaving, when you don't communicate that.
Yeah.
I think there are phenomenal interns who stand out, who do have respect, know how to communicate. There are interns who are doing it because they have to, and they don't understand like the closeness within the industry and levels of respect.
You and Jonathan Cohen met at Parsons.
Yes.
And you guys began your designer brand in fall of 2012.
Yes. So Jonathan and I met freshman year. And we always chatted because we both interned our way through school. And we said, one day we will start something, having no understanding of what that was. I think we both dreamed of working for big companies and being big fashionistas. And then we would just like start something. And that's not really how the world works. We took the opportunity to revisit his thesis collection, add to it, photograph it. And then we're like, let's put this out in the world. And we didn't know what that fully meant. So we reached out to 20 people we identified as mentors within the industry. So buying, styling, press, and we wrote handwritten letters and made these beautiful boxes, shipped them off into the world. and 12 of the 20 got back to us.
Oh, wow. Wait, that's actually really good.
It is, but we were like, oh my God, we made it. Like, we're going to do this. And we put together a business plan of like, who's going to pick us up, how much money we're going to make, what it's going to take to like build this collection, what the 5-year plan is, which in fashion, developing a 5-year plan, I like never recommend that to anyone because it's not possible. I mean, it's fully out of your control. You could have the best business plan ever. You could have the most brilliant designs. You can't control stores picking it up. You can't control the environment, what's going on. So we had made this list of stores and we were going to go about it with specialty stores, using them as our marketing campaign, which the theory worked, but getting picked up by that first store is not that easy. It's not based on the clothes. That you have relationships and entry points and who's doing your sales, who's doing your PR. And we did all of those roles. Relationships, networking, and follow through is everything. So I think we are persistent and constantly reaching out to people. And I would say that worked 9 out of 10. I have one store in particular who did not like my persistenceness to get her in to see the collection.
It depends on the person.
It depends on the person. It depends on how aggressive you are with the persistence and how you go about it.
You and Jonathan were friends for a long time,
Yes.
and you started this company together. You weren't sure where it was going to go, but now you guys are 12 years in. Can you talk about how you guys decided to set your boundaries so you guys both get your visions met, but still maintain the friendship?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's work every single day. I think when we started the business, we thought we had very defined roles of specific tasks. And I don't think it is that way. I feel my voice has gotten stronger on the aesthetics and the building of the collection than it ever was before. And I think he also has a voice in like where he wants to see the clothes and where the different business decisions we make. So we each have specific things we handle, but there are a lot more components that cross over. Like any relationship, it's a constant thing you're working at. It is finding like the balance of how we communicate with one another and what weekends look like. When we started the business, and for years, it was like every day we were working. So there was no boundary because we both, it was Saturday at 10 p.m. and we had an idea. We would text or talk or see each other about it. And I think we're trying to find a little bit space. I think we are our own individual people as well as brand owners.
Seeing you guys firsthand, I've never seen a business partnership that is really good with the business and also the friendship side. And I think you guys are a really good example.
Thank you.
At least being in the office with you guys, I honestly have never seen anything as good. Like you're able to switch it on and off whenever you need to.
Yeah,
It's a good
think
thing.
we have a good banter between us, and I think that's where it's really fun of like having conversations, especially when it's like speaking to students and going on to panels. We know each other so well, and we also just kind of, it is a relationship at the end. Then you work towards it, and we're going into year 20 of that friendship. One of our first celebrity moments was Lupita Nyong'o, and that was a huge moment for us because we just never had chased it. And it was an ongoing conversation, and Lupita wore a satin striped surfer dress of ours. And she went out onto an evening talk show, and they started talking about the dress. And I can tell you, so that was in January, and she was an Oscar nominee at this point. And the night before the Oscars, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie threw Lupita a birthday party. And Lupita wore one of our dresses that she had from a photo shoot that she had been photographed, but it hadn't come out yet. And we were in Paris for market. And I remember, so LA is 9 hours behind Paris. I had woken up because I was meeting my parents for breakfast that morning. They happened to also be in Paris at the same time. And one of my friends in LA kept texting me photos. I'm like, what is this? And like, this is right now. And I remember just like running down the street and like seeing my parents when this happened. So like I immediately got to celebrate with them, which was a really special moment.
Are there any current moments that really stick out to you?
Michelle Obama, I will tell you that. So Michelle Obama wore a shirt of ours, and for so long we wanted to dress her. Jonathan kept texting me, and my phone was in the other room. And I finally saw it, and he's like, you need to call me. And he like led me down this path that something was really wrong. And he's like, I just need you to stay on the phone. I'm going to send you something. I thought there was going to be like a PR crisis that was going to have to be handled. And it was Michelle Obama wearing us.
That's so awesome.
And he got so immense joy out of this process.
You've done a few collaborations.
Yes.
What are some of your favorites?
Wow. That is hard because I feel you're constantly collaborating with people. And so it's like identifying if it's like a brand collaboration or what that is. We have an ongoing collaboration with Le Roudet, which has been wonderful. We're going into our third and fourth rounds of collaborating with them, which has been exciting.
Yeah. I really love so many of the shoes that you guys have. What the boots with the bows, like the
Yes,
ties.
those are sitting by my desk right now.
Those are all-time favorite, of course,
Yes.
from your February presentation.
Yeah, they're fall 24th. But we've had a lot of ongoing partnerships. Swarovski was a big partner of ours. The season when we had all of the Swarovski necklaces play a role as belts within the collection. But it's a great company, and they really, between the traceability, sustainability aspects, and company ethos, it really aligns to what we're doing.
So I interned for you guys for the past 2 fashion presentations for New York Fashion Week, and really cool experience. Anna Wintour came to both of them, and this was her first time coming in February, right?
Yeah, so she came to the presentation midway through in February, and it was just an honor. Anna has always been supportive, and she is very responsive to us. But when her team reached out for her to attend, it was surreal.
Yeah. How much before your presentation did they reach out?
About a month,
Okay.
just because it was logistics. And we thought she'd be coming at the very beginning of the presentation, and we offered to kind of show her everything before we had crowds. She came in the middle, and as my dad would explain it, the seas parted. Everybody who was at the presentation kind of like moved backwards and let her have her space. And it's just funny to see what a celebrity world, people are just so immense and like passionate about seeing her in person and experiencing that.
Did you meet her before?
Yes. So we were part of the 2018 Fashion Fund, and we kind of grew a relationship there. She's come to our studio before. We've been to the office to see her. It's just great to get her feedback because obviously she sees everything. And to get a reaction from her on what she enjoys, what she likes, what she's fascinated in, asking like pivotal questions like what's going on with her business, and like telling her exciting things going on, who's attending, and just getting to be part of it. You know, the presentations during Fashion Week, or we have maximum 2 hours to create our world and everything we've been working on for 6 months to show. So her being able to enter and kind of see where our current mindset is and what we're presenting, what we're doing is wonderful.
So can you tell us a little bit about your previous Fashion Week, your Spring 25 ready to wear?
Yes. I don't even know what month it is half the time when we're talking about seasons. So for this past season, we showed at the center, the LGBTQ center. One reason we chose the venue is because we're launching a bigger partnership with the center and how to kind of take our world and our relationships to benefit the community. But this particular collection was based off of synesthesia, which is the act of seeing colors. Some people taste them. Some people like see numbers in the aspect of colors.
A lot of musicians have that too. Yeah.
It's interesting because as we gone through the collection, more and more people share their experience and like how it expresses to them. So we created an environment within the center. It was in one of their presentation spaces, which is like basically a big gymnasium. And we had draped it in cloth, and the lights kept shifting to go along with the music. So when you heard the music, the lights reacted to it. We had 15 models, and some of them changed, but it was like we alternated outfits as necessary. And we created just our world and like what our world was. Blank Street was one of our partners, and we do a coffee cup every season, which is like one of my favorite excitement things to do. And I still use the coffee cups every day, just because people get so attached. It's very exciting to see what is of that season. It's a tangible part to like leave the presentation with.
Well, I know you can't talk much about next season until then, but what is one thing that you're really excited about for next season?
I'm excited about the new shoes that we're doing with Le Roudet. I'm very excited about specific techniques that we're doing with embroidery. And always we find a way to use our excess waste. So how we're taking that excess material from the past and finding new development techniques to bring it in and have a new role.
You've been a CEO and a co-founder for 12 years, but you still continue to learn things, I'm sure. Can you share maybe one recent thing that you've learned?
Sustainability is probably the biggest area that we're constantly learning because the conversation is always shifting and changing. There's new developments, learning our processes and how to both be mindful of a sustainable and a financial level. Like our process is its own worst nightmare because we create all of our own prints. And how the cycle works is they print whatever they print and you're responsible for it. So if I ordered 100 meters of something and they printed 200 meters, I'm more or less stuck with 200 meters. Their alternative will burn it. And that's waste. So it's figuring out, and the challenges of like financially, you're now over budget by 50% that was not planned for. And then you have excess textiles.
Yeah.
So I think we're constantly learning and innovating and figuring out how to deal with that. Is that like, who do we disappoint in that process? And kind of like always respecting our ethos and our manner and who we want to be as a company.
That's a really good message. I think really holding on to your values
Yes.
is huge, and making sure that you're respecting that and not switching up on it just to maintain financial stability or
Right.
to please somebody that you're trying to network with. Or
Absolutely. And like for us, it's always been about long-term relationships, but I think it's also something that we're learning and playing with is like relationships work both ways.
So many celebrities have worn Jonathan Cohen, but is there one person that hasn't yet that you really would like to see?
I know we've been very close at moments with Nicole Kidman. I would love to see her. There was a look that she had that would have looked great on her. She just carries everything so well. There is a news reporter that currently has a JC look that I'm excited to see if it happens because again, it's like about intellectual women that have a voice and like how they wear clothes.
So there's a lot of young girls, mostly in college, that are listening. Do you have any advice on how to start a company and what you would advise them to do?
Be persistent, figure out what your voice is and make sure not to let it go. And I think just relationship building. I think that's the most important thing is intern help, like even if it's a short-term internship like leading into fashion week that you do 6 weeks to help, like those are relationships that you're building and you're presenting who you are as a person and what contribution you might have that opportunity in a company, but you're also building relationships with the founders, the CEOs, to go back to ask for help.
Right. So the final thing I like to do on my show, I really want the listeners not just to listen and get advice, but to have something that they can take action with and really go forward and use an experience or apply for an experience. So I would love if you'd be able to share an internship opportunity or a work opportunity that you could share with the audience.
I mean, we are always looking for great interns, so I will happily take any email. As you know, our office is a really great experience when we share an office with a celebrity client. So I think like coming into our world, you see this full picture of like how it works from Jonathan and I dealing with celebrity polls when it means like who we're answering, what we're allocating, and then you see the other side of it. And so it's like literally the yin and yang across the desk from one another. You see everything like how garments are delivered, how things are received, how they're presented to clients. And then you see it with us, how we're presenting it to our clients, our retailers or private clients.
You need interns for
Next semester, for February when it comes to photo shoots, summer interns, always open for the email.
Thank
you so much for having me.
I'm so appreciative. You're so busy, and thank you so much for supporting.
Of course.
Very, very grateful. And thank you all for tuning in. Bye.